going to make you hungry. And yeah,
Heck yeah.
I mean, we started changing our diet. My husband was drinking a case of Coke a week. So it was, he did. He lost weight.
Oh yeah. That's when we are teaching people how to fast. We always have them do a day with no sugars before they start trying to do a long fast, because the problem with sugar is that it increases your ghrelin spikes, and when you're used to having those ups and downs like that, that's what causes hypoglycemic episodes and stuff, is those spikes in sugar. So people who fast or just stop eating the sugar, they'll stop having those hypoglycemic issues. So tons of people that have done fasting with us don't have hypoglycemic issues anymore because they're dealing with their insulin resistance.
Welcome back to the Christian Women Health Collective podcast. We are so glad that you are here with us. Today's topic, and we have already been talking about this for quite some time, so feel free to join us now in the midst of our conversation on sugar and the damage and effect it can have on our bodies. And I am Leanne Woznica, your brain health coach. We also have Sherry Johnson, your incredible nutrition coach, who can talk to you about sugar, and then she can pass it on, and we'll just keep going.
Okay, so am I picking up where we left off?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I was that person with hypoglycemia, and I would, coming into lunchtime, if I didn't eat, in time, then I would get hangry and I would get nasty and I would get on edge. And I even went so much to the point of I did pass out a couple of times. I had to sit down or I did pass out. And one of those times we were at the very top of the water park, on the top of the slide. We finally got to the top of the slide and I had to come back down because I was like shaking. And changing my diet, removing the sugar, eating real food, and I haven't had hypoglycemia anymore.
Amazing.
It's
crazy what sugar does to our bodies. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. My husband knew that we got to feed her. Feed her. I guess it's like, but yeah.
I think for one of the most interesting shows, and I know it's reality TV, and I try not to get sucked into it, is the My 600-Pound Life, and watching those people who are on that show embrace their food addiction and get so angry at someone trying to help them and just get beside themselves over the idea of losing weight or not getting that. I was watching an episode the other day, because I'll play it in the background, and this woman had her boyfriend in the grocery store buying 6 bags of chips and 7 boxes of cereal, and she couldn't get out of bed. She'd been bedridden for 4 years. And I think that, and I know that that's not everybody, and that's not standard obesity, the standard obesity rate that we're at. But when you look at where our population is today, where obesity is today, that over 50% of the population is considered obese, or actually no, over 80% of the population is overweight, like 70 is obese and 50 is morbidly obese. And that's I mean, it's just a testament to how damaging sugar can be, and carbs can be, because most of that is carbohydrate intake. And then when you think about the fact that there's plenty of skinny fat people out there that are intaking, they just have a faster metabolism, or God help them, some sort of an eating disorder.
Or I was the skinny fat where my bone structure wasn't there, but I didn't get big, but I had the fat. I was fat. I was fat girl. I could pinch 5 inches on my belly and still can pinch a couple as skinny as I am. But I don't think, and I think that's probably a lot of when there are people who are like, I want to lose weight, I want to be healthy, but then you run against people saying, well, you're skinny, or well, wow, what's wrong with you? Well, I mean, there is a skinny fat, and that skinny fat is just as unhealthy as anybody. I mean, it doesn't need to be there, and it's just adding disease and inflammation and so many other things. And I think that, and then you put the addiction of sugar, and so you have the judgment, you have the addiction already, and you're fighting both, and it almost becomes a internal war. It did for me, at least, which I think I'm still battling that sugar addiction because it's hard, it's not
Very
easy to
hard.
give up.
No,
Oh, it's not.
No. More and more of our children are getting the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Yeah.
And so that's not alcohol. The kids are not drinking alcohol. So that's.
Yeah, child obesity, I feel like it's child abuse, honestly.
Yeah. Eat the ultra processed food that's full of ingredients that nobody can recognize, that is engineered to not fill you up and make you want more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think we're going to go down that rabbit hole, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Big food.
Go.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yep. Big food.
There
Yes.
are leaked documents of these companies knowing exactly what they're putting in their food, knowing what
Yeah.
the biological and chemical dependency looks like, and they continue to make it. And when you think that there are so many elements of our food that are outlawed in other countries because they're so highly toxic, and yet our government allows it to go in the food here, it just infuriates me. Yep, we're going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've made videos on it too.
I know, so many. I know your videos on food and stuff are so great, Sherry.
Oh, they're good.
We just were reading some
Thank you.
research on the American diet and how people are exercising slightly more than they like for the last 20 years the obesity rate has gone up, skyrocketed, right? But when they looked at the caloric intake for people was about the same, and in fact it had decreased some, and exercise had gone up. So people know that they need to exercise more and eat less. The problem is what they're eating, because their diet has increased from real foods 20 years ago to an ultra processed food diet where more than 60% of your food is ultra processed food. And now we're having this obesity epidemic. So what do you think the cause is there?
Yeah.
Is the food.
Yeah.
Nobody's eating. Everyone is eating poor quality food that is just slowly poisoning them.
Mm-hmm.
Food quality has gone down.
Oh, big
in our
time.
country.
Big time.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You were talking about the fact that how they create the foods in the labs and whatnot, but they also will make the salt have more facets on them. So it hits more areas of your tongue. So you have more cravings for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can go back to last week's podcast about salt. This is not the good salt. Let me tell you, this is the bad processed salt.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's all engineered. And
well, and now
have you seen the video?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, have you seen the video with the blowtorch and the Twinkie?
No.
Oh, you haven't seen the blowtorch and the Twinkie?
No.
It won't catch on fire.
I'm gonna find that video and superimpose it on this podcast. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then there's the other one, just to pick on that company that we love. I believe it was Mickey D's. They did a study, but somebody did a study. They took a Happy Meal or something and they left it in the bag and they stuck it underneath of the bed for, I don't know, months.
Yeah.
And they pulled it back out and it looked exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. That's why I call it
their
unfood.
studies have gone.
It's unfood.
Yeah,
I've
or
experienced
their
that.
documents have been public. That was you?
Yeah.
Stuck a McDonald's burger under your bed?
Oh no, my children I have lost many cheeseburgers under the car when they were young, and it would be like, how long has this hard thing been under here?
Oh my gosh.
Or like a 5-month, or probably year-old fry, and it's still just there, just a fry. Not a bit of mold on it.
Oh, it's so scary.
Yeah.
They have a process for their French fries that just blows my mind. The toxins that they spray on their fries so they don't go bad. Oh yeah. They have I have read an article that talks about when they're growing their potatoes, they greenhouse grow them, and the people wear hazmat suits when they go in to spray them. Yeah. Now, it was an article, so this is pure speculation. I cannot confirm nor deny that that's true, just for podcast clarification, but I did read the article years ago.
Well, even if you go on the internet and look at the ingredients in US French fries versus UK French fries, like our ingredient list is like this long.
Mhm.
The UK French fries is like this long.
Yeah.
And they're both McDonald's.
Yeah, they're both
So,
McDonald's fries, like just
Both
produced in
McDonald's.
different countries. So they allow more.
Mhm.
I love
additives.
Chick-fil-A.
Here.
I love Chick-fil-A, and I learned through Food Babe that their sandwich has 54 ingredients in it. Just their chicken sandwich. 54 ingredients.
I know this is going to be unpopular, but I had to stop eating there because it started making me so sick every time I ate there.
Yeah.
And I used to love Chick-fil-A.
I
Their
know.
chicken minis, like the little things, breakfast things, like I loved those, but I can't eat anything from there anymore.
Once you heal your gut, it's game over. I can't eat tomatoes. I mean, I had this bacterial thing in my gut from tomatoes, which I know tomatoes are supposed to be really healthy for you, but I can't eat them. I can't eat any nightshades, period. Nightshades just kill me.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's funny. I made some chili the other night and put 1 can of tomatoes in them and had 1 bowl and was like, yep, nope, can't do that. But I wanted to say real quick that I don't want to dominate this podcast. I know me, I will just start running off the mouth. When you go into the grocery store and you look at the keto, because that's like the new buzzword, right? Like Atkins was in the 90s, and I am keto carnivore, but I do it properly. You see all these processed foods in there that are 0 carb, and this new bread crap that they have on the shelves that's supposed to be keto, and they use a modified wheat starch. Oh yeah, they go in and chemically separate the wheat to make it a modified wheat starch. So they say it's so high in fiber that it doesn't actually cause you to have carbs in your system, but a carb is a carb is a carb. And so in my business, that's what I preach so much, is like you can't look at something that says 0 carb and then you go look at all these other ingredients that are cornstarch and wheat gluten. They even add wheat gluten to it. I'm like, how can they call this keto and get away with it? But they do. And then there's all
that's disturbing, because how can you call something that you made in a lab food?
Yep. It's so disgusting, the things that they're allowed to put on our shelves.
I think what really frustrates me the most is, I don't know a lot of this stuff. I know just enough to get me in trouble with every bit of it when it comes to the nutrition and food piece. But what I can't help but to be is the advocate for the people who don't know any better. And so for those that, I keep going back to those that think I really do want to do better. I really do want to eat healthy. If I go keto, it will do this. And then they buy this processed junk that is actually causing, and a lot of times, more harm than good.
Yes.
It's doing more damage to the body. It's doing more damage to the gut.
Mm-hmm.
It's really sad.
It is. It's tragic.
Yeah.
And it's the food that our big pharma, big food government people push. And it's just disturbing. And now, we've got so many diabetics in the country, and insulin is out the roof expensive right now. It just, it's a well-designed system.
And, and it's frustrating too. I think one of the things that I've been finding with just some of the research is, and I don't know if it's, again, I wonder if it goes to like the rural or the population different, because even, and I say that because even when you talk to some of the dietitians or you look at some of the food resources, they go back to the prepackaged foods. So I'm finding it's been difficult to find a lot of people that are clean foods or clean eating or teach that. It's more like swaps from, one process to another processed.
Yeah.
I can't grasp that.
I mean, when I went to the hospital, when my dad was there with lung cancer, and I just had to bite my tongue when they brought him food, and I was just like, oh, because it was all carbs.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, you'd have the bread, then you'd have the applesauce, and then you'd have the pudding, and then, and then apple juice, and it was just all carbs, and I'm like, you definitely don't feed somebody with cancer all of the sugar.
Yeah.
All these carbs.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, at that point, we weren't going to save him. There wasn't any saving at that point, but it's like they don't change the diet for anybody. This is the menu for today. This is what everybody's going to have.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some meds. We'll throw some meds at you to deal with all that sugar.
Yes. Let me just grab that IV real quick.
Yeah. Hey, here's a pill. Take care of it.
Yeah. But Julie, I really love the topic, the piece of the topic that you touched on about people just being uneducated. And that's the thing that breaks my heart the most, right? Especially lower income rural areas where people don't know any better and they don't have access to learn better. And I think that that's a really important thing to really kind of talk about, because there's nobody in public schools. You look at public school menus and it's disgusting. There's nobody there unless these people are really self-starters to help them understand anything about nutrition. So they continue to eat what they believe they're supposed to eat, looking at the food pyramid that's upside down. And they continue to get sicker and sicker. And the sicker they become, the more dependent they become on medicine. So that kind of feels like a mission for me, right? Like that's a purpose, to get the message across to those people, especially because the more of those people can be woken up to just taking the bread out of your diet. Just grab some eggs and, make bread with egg whites. Yeah. The better their life can be in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
I think we should share that. I think we should each share, like, okay, what's one thing or what's one easy way? Like if you're listening right now and you want to improve your nutrition, you want to know an easy way to make better choices for your health, for your food. Like what is a way to do that? What is your tip?
I'll start with the tip. And I think the tip is knowing how you are as, do you have any diseases? What are your diagnoses? Do you pay attention to how your body feels? Do you pay attention to the tension that comes along? Because I think a lot of times that's your first sign. And most people that I know will push it aside. It's age, it's I'm just stressed, it's I've had a hard week. Well, how many hard weeks are you going to have? But I think it's, knowing, and when we're thinking about food and like what your healthy choice is, there's people out there who are, and it's really sad. And I think as we age, this is what happens, that, there's people who are diabetic, hypertensive, they have, gout, they have dementia, they've got a touch of probably some whatever else, And when you start looking at how you eat with all those things, I think that it can be difficult. But I think that the start is knowing exactly where you stand so you can identify the right diet for you, which was my battle, and I think that's the start to going around the clock. Well,
I'll go. I think that my biggest tip would be to recognize behaviors around food. Food addiction is such a real thing, and people have physical and mental reactions when they think that they're not going to get something again. And I'm living proof of that. You know, every single time I would ever restrict myself from something, I would binge on it so fast because I'd think, oh, I can never eat this again. It's going to destroy my life. And then I would go binge on it. And then of course, as soon as that binge happened, I would, you know, feel like a dog and, you know, do something unhealthy to offset that, like, you know, starve myself or whatever, because I just didn't understand. So it really ties into knowing how your body feels when you're eating something, but also recognizing triggers. I've shared in another podcast, like for me, I love nutritional yeast. I love nutritional yeast so much so that I will eat that stuff by the spoonful. I can't have it in my house. Does that mean that I'll never have it again though? And that's where the mindset piece came in for me. No, it probably doesn't mean I'll never have it again. It just means that I need to know it's a trigger. I need to recognize that and then figure out how to deal with it, whether it's, you know, praying about it or journaling about it or just keeping it out of the house, but being okay with it if I do eat something that's got it in it. You know, I mean, it's a lot of mental work to get around those trigger foods. And everybody has a trigger food that's ever had a problem with food, which is probably about 95% of the population.
Most people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my tip. Know your triggers.
I have one like super. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sherry was just green on my screen, so I called her name.
I have just a super simple tip. Whenever you are shopping for food or eating out, and eating out like this is as best as you can do. Choose foods that are either one ingredient, like steak, potatoes, apples, like those are all. If your food is one ingredient, it does not have a nutrition label, you can eat that anytime. That's a whole food. That is good, right? That's how it came out of the ground or came from the butcher shop or, you know, that kind of thing. The other rule of thumb is if you're going to pick something that's packaged or that has nutrition label, 5 ingredients or less, nothing over 5 ingredients. Because then you're getting into the ultra processed food with all of the additives and sugars and all kinds of crazy things. You don't want that. So those are my 2 simple tips. Less than 5 ingredients, preferably just 1. And make it yourself at home instead of buying it processed or at a gas station or from a restaurant or a fast food place. Because if you make it at home, it's going to be 100 times healthier than the way they made it.
And probably taste better.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it'll taste a lot
Definitely.
better.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. I would add into yours, Brienne, with, you know, taking it back, because when you go to that one ingredient, you're taking it back to God's foods. It's the way that it was actually created, you know, and so that is going to be the healthiest, you know, food that you could have. If you are going to go to something that does have a label, then I always like to say, if you can't pronounce it, you don't know what it is, neither does your body. No idea. So it's going to take that and it's going to push it right into fat, because it's going to save your organs. So it's going to push it away from any vital organs, and it's going to make you fat. So you want to go to foods that you know what they are. And then, I mean, the other thing I think is really important is a clean source of water. Having good, fresh, clean source of water, because this is a whole nother topic.
It is. Agree.
Yeah, no, it really is. If you can get filtered water, and it not have get super clean water. I mean, because that's what's going to give you energy. Otherwise, you're putting more toxins in your body.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your body is mostly water.
Yeah. I'm sure that there's people and they're like, you know, I'm just doing whatever I can. And I think those are things that would be good to hear, is like, if there are things that you've tried or just things that you have curiosities about, because you can tell, we all do, like what are yours, or what are some things that come to mind as we're talking, because even if there's tips or tricks or just some tools that we have, we want to share those. And that's obviously why we're here, is to give as much information around all this as we can. And I think too, like while we're talking all these things about sugar, I'm like, oh my gosh. But just this weekend, I went to a friend's house, or they came into town, and they had all the stuff, and I hoarded it in, and like I would never get it again. And I think here's the thing, is that when we do that, just recognize what's good and what's bad. And even if you tell yourself, is this good for me? Is this bad for me? And just start questioning it before you put it in. Sometimes that will help with those sugar addictions, because and they're real addictions. But I want to know what people think about it when we think about sugar, and I would just love to hear y'all's thoughts and kind of where you are with sugar.
I agree. So if you want to go deeper and dive deeper about sugar, then you are welcome to come check out our membership details in the comments below. If you have questions for us or have a topic that you would love for us to talk to you about here on the podcast, drop a message in the comments below. And other than that, we are so grateful that you're here, and we will see you next week for another fun topic.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
You guys want to hear something interesting that we just did training on? Is that exactly what you're saying, Sherry? Is that 60% of the American diet is processed foods, 67% for teenagers. And if 20% of your diet is processed foods, then that increases your chances of dementia by like 25%. And every 10% that you go up adding processed food into your diet increases your dementia chances by like 25%. So people in the US are eating 60% processed foods, which means that their chance for dementia goes up like 200%. What is that? 150 or something crazy? 100%. So it's like basically if you eat 60% processed foods, then your chances of getting dementia is 100%.
And then just think about the grocery store, how they intentionally make the grocery store. 67% of the grocery store items that you walk in and look at have added sugar. 67% have added sugar.
Yes, 80% of our sugar intake in the United States comes from processed foods.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I guess we're talking about sugar because we just went there.
Well, I'll tell you this about sugar. So the way Ken lost weight was all sugar, coming off of as much sugar as he possibly can. It was a scientific, unintentional project, but it worked.
That's great.
Yeah. It is shocking how much better people feel when they go off sugar.
But I won't have the energy.
Mm-hmm.
I have the energy if I don't have the sugar.
You have so much more energy if you get rid of all the sugar.
Where's there at? I got energy. Bam, crash. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's if I eat sugar, like a bunch of sugar, then you get, kind of that sugar high, but then the crash is so bad. I get so tired, and it makes me hungrier than if I hadn't eaten the sugar in the first place.
Every time I used to get a bagel in the morning for breakfast, or eat a bowl of oats or a bowl of cereal in the morning for breakfast, I would be hungry within 3 hours. This morning I had steak for breakfast. And I ate, I don't know, maybe 10 ounces of steak, and I haven't eaten since.